Few are aware of the many steps and complex processes that go into designing and creating a public monument. I would like to take you through my creative method with images from previous monumental works of mine, as well as the work in progress for Provincetown Fishermen's Memorial. Before a sculpture idea can become a three-dimensional reality, however, there is a long and involved process. Many ideas start out as simple drawings. I like to explore through many permutations of how an idea might work out, or how it could be used. Often, the best ideas are the ones that focus on a simple concept and seek to convey that for the space where the work will be seen. A good idea travels naturally from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions. Every idea has its chain of relationships, and the process is rarely linear. Sometimes one gets stumped and needs to turn from one sculpture to another in search of a breakthrough. One project in my studio will influence all the others. The process is branching and evolutionary. Nothing in my studio happens in a design vacuum. Ideas cross-pollinate between projects. That is why it is so important to keep the flow of new challenges ever present. Every sculpture is unique, but all are related organically, and I love every part of the process of creating a sculpture. Michelangelo famously stated that a good sculpture should be so well designed that it could roll down a hill and survive intact. An exaggeration, perhaps, but the sentiment that public sculpture must be able to endure is a fundamental truth, as well as a sound metaphor. A public monument has a life that just begins when the sculptor finishes it. The greater part is what comes when the last task is complete. The road that leads on from the first maquette to the installation of the monument, to ultimately how that sculpture will become part of the community in which it lives, each affecting the other as time, history, and use bring relevance to it that the artist only dreamed of. But first, a winning design has to be discovered and made to scale. Whenever I'm approached by a client to do this, I'm always asked to just work up a few drawings. I respond, if the goal is sculpture, I need to design develop with sculpture models, not drawings. Although drawings have a place in the process, meaningful idea development needs to primarily happen in 3D, in relation to a site. To imagine any monument in a public space, the client needs to have a site the sculptor can design for. Every site has its own demands. A public monument needs lines of view that serve its public function, enhance the environment where it will be placed, and drive the design process. A public monument often has a story to tell. The space it occupies should help tell that story. All phases of the project need to be planned out and designed carefully and deliberately, from how the sculpture will relate to other structures, to how the public will interact with the piece. Large monuments require large amounts of funding to create them, and therefore, the investments need to be protected by careful planning. The site also requires special consideration. I have to engineer the sculpture to withstand not just exposure to the elements, but public use and to survive disasters. Sometimes, the artist needs to think creatively about the site and adapt it to accommodate its intended use. In the case of the Fisherman's Memorial, we examined many possible sites. Each had problems that disqualified it: the scarcity of available space and the value of waterfront property complicated finding a site that helped to tell the story of the Fisherman's Memorial. The site needed to be viewable from land and water and connected to the historic fishing tradition. Since no site fit that program that wasn't already spoken for, I suggested we create one instead. The harbor master is equipped to modify McMillan Wharf. Why not use that capability to turn a portion of the pier into a dedicated site, enlarging the entrance of the pier to create a grand walkway and sculpture platform? This approach would provide a new dedicated public space at comparable cost to displacing the current use of any similar location. It would not interfere with navigation, transportation, or tourism, and most importantly, it would provide a triangular monument site, 9.5 by 16.5 by 20 feet, ample proportions to create a monument that would be a source of civic pride. Such a triangular site does more than solve a location problem. The shape of the site suggests an artistic solution. The long triangular form just happens to lend itself well to Provincetown's historically emblematic fisherman's conveyance, the dory. In good design, form follows function, be it for a monument or a dory. Dorymen pioneered fishing in Provincetown, and few utilitarian vessels can compare with it for pure functional design elegance, making it the perfect visual trope upon which to base the design of the Provincetown Fisherman's Memorial. The dory, and the fishermen who made their livelihood with it, have long inspired Provincetown's preeminent artistic community. There is a poignant and inspiring metaphor in facing the ocean in a small vessel, with only oars and will to make one's way. It is this iconic image I also chose to epitomize Provincetown's fishing history, seeking to express in a design suitable for a monumental sculpture, an idea that could be comprehensible, accessible, and relatable, both to those connected to this legacy, as well as those encountering it for the first time. But having an idea is not the same as having a working design in 3D. The most creative phase is interpreting an idea for the site in a series of design models called maquettes. And while the final version will be cast in bronze, the original is first sculpted with clay or red wax. It is here that the sculptor really works out the ideas for the project. This process can go through many iterations before I find a design that satisfies the site program and guidelines as well as artistic vision. One needs to find a design that will function well at the scale of the intended project and is suited to enlargement, which is harder than it sounds. Issues of scale affect every step of design and execution, as I try to bring the intimacy and expression of the maquette into the final sculpture. A public monument is not only an artwork, but also part construction project. Every detail has to be carefully engineered and executed to pass civic code standards. All the steps of the process of how I will create and fabricate the sculpture full scale have to be planned and considered, from the casting in bronze to how I will finish and patina the final sculpture. Each step along the way imparts aspects to the final piece, and each has to be ascertained from the maquettes so the project can be successfully executed. The fishing tradition in Provincetown has touched everyone's lives in some way. Perhaps for some, more pervasively than others, but we all realize that the town we know and love would not be the place it is were it not for the generations of fishermen and the safe harbor they created here, not just for themselves, but for one of the most remarkable and diverse communities in America. As a Provincetown native and career sculptor, I have had the distinction of creating sculptures for communities all over the world, and several times, nearly for Provincetown as well. But it took the Fishermen's Memorial Committee, who overcame years of delay and setbacks, to select me to create this monument to honor the town we all love. Please help me and the Fishermen's Memorial Committee to rise to this challenge of creating something lasting that speaks not just to our storied past, but to our future. Thank you.